Jesus proposed a parable to the crowd. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed into a field. It is the smallest of all the seeds, yet, when full grown, it is the largest plant. It becomes the largest bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches. He spoke to them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed it with 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch was leavened. All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables to fulfill what had been said through the prophet. I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what has lain hidden from the foundation of the world. The Gospel of the Lord. Today is the feast, the liturgical memorial of Saint Joachim and Saint Anne, Jesus' maternal grandparents, the Blessed Virgin's parents. It is a day to meditate and to give thanks, to meditate on the role of grandparents in a world that is moving forward at enormous speed. At this moving backwards at enormous speed. Grandparents, the elderly in general, because sometimes they do not have grandchildren, and not because of them, the elderly tend to be discarded, useless material, waste material. Euthanasia, for example, is advancing continuously. I don't say daily, but countries to admit it, they allowed it, and not only for terminal ill patients, but for almost any cause, to the extent that when psychological illness is acknowledged, anyone can also ask for euthanasia, or the person is simply conditioned in such a way that she or he ends up asking for it because she or he cannot do anything else. The elderly person is in nonsense because old age implies a loss of faculties and degenerates an economic burden for the children, for the state. He needs attention, he needs patience. The elderly is seen more and more as someone uncomfortable who makes our life more difficult, makes our life heavier. I am not saying that this is true in all cases. I know many who really love their parents, their mothers, their grandparents. When they are old, I know many of them, and who suffer enormously when time of the death comes, who have a huge emptiness when they have lost their parents, elders, or their grandparents. But society in general does not value the elderly. I repeat, they consider them a waste material. They consider them as discarded and disposable. It is getting worse and worse. However, in this society of knowledge, there is no wisdom. It is different. I can know everything there is to know, and I don't. I am not talking about me. I'm talking about WhatsApp, about Facebook, about Telegram. I can know everything, but in reality, I know nothing. Knowledge is one thing, and wisdom is another. I can know and not know. I can know many things and not know anything about life. A long time ago, I read, I don't know if it is still true, because unfortunately things are changing for the worse. I read that in Africa, when an elder died, they consider it equivalent for a library to burn, like in other countries in the West, because the elder had accumulated the wisdom of the people, the wisdom of the tribe of all kinds, wisdom of where the water was, wisdom of where the sources were, wisdom about the moment of the harvest, about the moments of sowing, to interpret the climb, to know herbs for the cures. Wisdom, which is really very different from knowledge. We, and I include myself, because I'm in an age that makes me be on retirement date. Although I have not retired, we have a lot to give, really. We are not a waste material, and we are not someone to forget or to kill. We have a lot to give, and we have a lot to receive, because we need more help and patience. What do the elders have to give? What do we, the elderly, have to give? For example, faith, transmitting faith. It is something very valuable, the most valuable thing. Sometimes we have lived all our lives because it was passed on to us by our parents, our grandparents. Sometimes there had been many cases of conversion throughout our lives. When we have faith, we have the greatest treasure and we must transmit it. Of course, it's not easy. It is not easy because they look at you with superiority. Sometimes some teenagers who know nothing but think they know everything, or the children who look at you with superiority, they think you have nothing to teach them. But even so, I know many grandparents who are catechizing their children. For example, with the material we have for 5 years, or catechesis for children, or the 5 years of adolescence, many Franciscans of Mary parents are helping their grandchildren, preparing them, or at least trying to do so. Otherwise, of course, are not from our family. There are many grandparents who are trying, and sometimes successfully. To give an example that could be like a parable, those that the Lord uses frequently. Years ago, I used to think that grandparents were like the soccer goalkeepers the Real Madrid had, Casillas. He stopped everything. He was marvelous then. Then he got old and now he has all kinds of problems. Grandparents, I like Casillas. They are like the goalkeeper, the forward, the midfield, the defense, half field. There is the goalkeeper. Parents are very busy. They have no faith. They are busy with other things. But the grandparents is there. The grandmother is there. There are the goalkeepers to transmit faith. If they let them, because sometimes parents use them as a free labor to take care of their grandchildren, but prohibit them from any kind of catechesis, at least when they can, when they are allowed, the grandparents are the ones who have to prevent the goals in soccer game. They are the ones who have to try to prevent the last barrier from being breached. They are the ones who have to try to stop the devil, to transmit the faith to the grandchildren. Another thing we older people can do besides transmitting the faith, linked to that, of course. As you get older, physical and other problems increase, not just physical problems. You hear words every time, see words every time. You move slower and slower, and sometimes you will have troubles remembering things. What can we do? Teach how to suffer. Teach in pain, even physical pain. And I repeat, it's not the only type of pain. There is the pain of the loss of loved ones. For example, the pain when you lose your husband or your wife, who had been your companion in life, not to say the pain of losing a child. We have to teach that the pain has a value. It is useful. We have to teach how a Catholic is capable of suffering. I recall it was Saint Basil, I'm not sure. His mother was a widow, and he did not want to remarry, and she did not want to remarry, which was an exceptional thing in the environment that was still quite pagan. And this tutor, his pagan teacher, when he met his mother, said, I exclaimed, the women that are among Christians, well, that's what they have to say among us. What all people there are among Christians, how exceptional. how they suffer with a smile on their face, how they are able to continue fighting, dragging their feet, and without giving up. It is a parable that those who are closer to us do not notice that this happens, but it does not matter. They will not notice that someday, and someday when they have problems, cancer, prostate, whatever, or arthritis, or their needs does not work, when they are in trouble, maybe then they will remember my grandfather, my grandmother, my father, my mother went through very difficult situation, economic, loss of children, family crisis, or sickness situation, and they tried not give up and continue fighting, and they smile and they swallow their tears so as not to upset us, who lived without worries. They took care of us. Other thing we can do as elders, another example we can give is the example of forgiveness. Life filled us with wounds. Some of them we have earned them, but others we have not. They have been given to us because of envy, jealousy, or simply because of malice. We accumulate grudge, we accumulate wounds, many of them without closing, bleeding, although so many years have passed since they were infected on us. We can give that example not only of how Catholics suffers, but also on how Catholics forgiveness. It is a very important example because we often see families divided, confronted, siblings who do not speak to each other, sometimes for a petty and insignificant piece of nothing. An inheritance that is worthless, but nevertheless serves to settle old scores and for brothers to bring to the surface the deep resentment they had for each other. Let us teach how a Christian suffers, forgives, and loves. It is accumulate experience. It is wisdom. And it's our opportunity. Truly, let us never think that we are good for nothing. I remember reading a book many years ago about what old people did in art, literature, science. It's called the Third Age, a good age. We have a lot to give, and we also have to humbly receive and ask for help, and not feel bad when we became dependent, clumsy people. On contrary, to be grateful for all that, and to be able to offer to those who helped us the accumulated wisdom that is only acquired with the years. One last thing for them, do not have to say it about us. I am very, very concerned about what the jester said to the King Lear in William Shakespeare's play. The jester, after the king had been deceived by one of his daughters and despised the other one who has the good one, the jester said to the king, "A tragedy king is to you have grown old without becoming wise." We have to offer wisdom. Age with wisdom is a wonderful thing. But if we have grown old and have nothing to offer, then we have failed. Amen.